Uh,
And I'm going to leave you, John. Is that okay? You can continue
yeah,
on.
that's fine.
All
That's
right,
fine.
great. All right.
Thanks a lot, Rob.
Oh,
Appreciate you
you're
setting
welcome.
this up. Okay, thank you so much for attending, everybody. Uh, this is about the total solar eclipse, which will take place April 8th next year. And before I go any further, just curious, how many people are completely unfamiliar with what a total solar eclipse is? Just
Oh,
do a hand gesture or something. Okay, so nobody says that they're unfamiliar. Okay, good. So at least we have that going for us, that everybody knows what it is.
you should ask how many people have actually seen a total solar eclipse.
Yeah, that would be a good one, but then they can't put their hand. Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, how many have seen a solar eclipse? Can you please put up a hand gesture? Like, oh, I can't do mine. I've seen one actually. Or do a hand gesture, I suppose. If, yeah, actually, most have seen one. Okay, good. Okay. Anyway, this is the one on April the 8th. It starts somewhere in the ocean here. Is it, first of all, can everybody see the map of North America that I have here?
Yeah, we can see it. It's
Okay.
there.
Yeah, basically, it runs through Mexico, Texas.
Yeah, record. So I would like mine, everything with a little spice.
Oh, Rob, can you mute? Actually, can I mute everybody here?
Oh, sorry. I
Okay, I don't know how to mute everybody, so please, everybody mute yourselves. Okay. Okay, going through Mexico, Texas, including the big city, part of the big city of San Antonio and Dallas mostly, through parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, little corner of Memphis, Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, actually, a bit of Pennsylvania, New York State, and of course, Southern Ontario, and Quebec, Vermont, Maine, New Brunswick, a little bit of PEI, lots of Newfoundland, actually. So, and from here to here is only about an hour and a half, actually. So that's the time difference. If you're looking at the times, this is, I think Mexico might be Mountain Time even. Central Time mostly here, Eastern Time here, Atlantic Time, and then Newfoundland Time. So if you're looking at the times, they're local. Just be careful with that, especially if you're near time zone change. Okay, slide change. Oh, there we go. Okay, here's a close-up of our area here. As you can see, Toronto misses it totally. Even though I might get 99.9%, as Fred Espinac, aka Mr. Eclipse, said at Starfest, the difference between 99.9% and totality is like missing one number for a lottery. So, it's a nice event seeing a big partial, but it doesn't compare to a total eclipse. Places like Mississauga will miss totally as well. Part of Oakville will get it, and they're just going to get a few seconds of totality here. I mean, basically along. Okay, somebody's talking. Mute, please. Hey, mute, Jose.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, basically, if you're on the edge here, you're going to get seconds on either edge. If you're at the center line, you're going to be further south, it'll be over 4 minutes. Further northeast, it'll be 3:45 roughly, 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So it's actually quite a bit of time. So the 2017 eclipse was only about 2.5 minutes, I think, at best. At least it was for where I saw it anyway. So so the big problem though is that hang on, switch slides. the challenges. Okay, the first challenge, the weather. And let's face it, the weather in Southern Ontario sucks in April. And guess what? It also sucks in even worse in Eastern Canada. The mid US Midwest, it kind of sucks. And in Texas, not so bad. Okay. Mexico, they get great weather. Anyway, next slide. I copied this from this is Eclipse file, which is created by Jay Anderson, this website. The blue is good. See Mexico, they have a really great chance of having clear skies. I mean, this is climatological data. This doesn't mean that that's going to happen in 2024. It means that on average, this is what the expectations are. So best chances in Mexico. Texas, not bad, maybe 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 chance. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, even for us here, it's about a 2 out of 3 chance of us missing it. Okay. So, you know, it's a kind of unfortunate that it's happening in April. So, okay, let me go back. I need to go back to the first slide.
John,
Yes.
in I think it was last Friday, I get a Sky and Telescope newsletter thing, and Jay Anderson had kind of an update to that weather forecast. Now, it doesn't change things in any great way, but he was presuming that it's going to be an El Nino year, and that causes some broader, changes in the weather patterns. So if that's not the current version he's got, if that was from, say, 2-3 weeks ago, then there may be a subtle update to that. Again, I don't think it's going to change anyone's travel plans, but just to get the most recent best guess.
I literally just copied and pasted this from his website half an hour ago or an hour ago.
Hey, can I-
So does he mean that, does the El Nino affect it in what kind of way, Keith? Did he say?
Yeah, it's
Positive, I think.
I should post a link if I can find the link to the article.
Can I comment? I know about this. I read it. He said that El Nino is going to make almost no difference at all from Ohio to the East Coast, but will slightly improve the chances for Texas and Mexico. But for us, it's pretty well zero change. That's what I read on there.
Oh,
the
good.
report.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
And Keith for bringing it up to begin with. Yeah, great. Okay, so this is the biggest challenge is the weather. The other thing is transportation. The 2017 clips, the interstate highways, they seem to follow the path everywhere. So it was pretty easy to stick to the path. Also, they weren't on, there were a lot of places to go that we could avoid the big population centers. So really that one was a breeze compared to this one. And I just barely got to see that one actually, as it turned out. But so transportation is a biggie. In the northern, like to me, me and the guys that I'm teaming up with, we kind of decided that that we're targeting the US just because, the prospects are better for the weather. Getting around anywhere, hang on, let me go to a map here. Getting around anywhere from this point north, lots of good roads on either side of the path. So, we can easily cover 8 to 10, well, maybe not easily. We should be able to cover that if we're moving the day before. If we're further south of here, it gets much more difficult. If you're on the path, if you're headed for Dallas or Austin, San Antonio, there's good roads there. But I imagine that they're going to be inundated with traffic. So we wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't be as easy to stay in the periphery. So, which is what I would do if we're in the northern half of the path. So, that's a big challenge. Okay. No, I didn't want to do that. Sorry, I got to restart this. Okay, safety is pretty obvious. You don't want to be alone. So that's why, we decided to form a team. And so safety also, We want to make sure that we're, we find, hotels. I mean, I don't think we want to be camping out on the road or, on a roadside or anything. So safety is an issue as well. Okay. So our strategy, a team of 4 that will be prepared to drive to a site somewhere on the US portion of the Eclipse path. Our team or teams, because it could be others, will research and select 2 or 3 locations that will place us within a reasonable drive of where we will eventually see the eclipse. We will reserve hotel rooms in small cities just off the eclipse path for somewhere between April 5th and 7th. Hopefully with no money down and with the ability to cancel. Okay. And Ron did some research on hotels, so he'll talk about that in a while. I did some as well too. For instance, what I'm finding is that if you're going somewhere in Texas on the path, yeah, the hotel, you could already see that there's a lot of high prices there. Where even if you're just 50 to 100 kilometers off the path, I find that the prices seem pretty reasonable. So anyway, we're going to reserve an SUV or a minivan rental vehicle, hopefully also with no money down. And I know I just did this last month. I went on a baseball road trip and we were able to do this very thing. I mean, there's some difficulties with renting a vehicle too, and Fred's going to talk about that in a few minutes. Ideally, several days before the eclipse, obviously, we will select where we're going to drive to. We will keep watching the weather and be ready to move, possibly even back north. I mean, we could end up coming back here. So if things look, say 4 or 5 days before, things look good somewhere on the central part of the path in the States, we'll go there. And then within a couple of days, if it looks like it's going to be better up here, we could head back up this way. So, we have to be very flexible. Okay. I just want to remind everybody that you should subscribe to this Eclipse 2024 subgroup within Groups.io. I think maybe, based on the names, I think most of you actually are. So, which is a good thing. And if you're not, please do that. The email that I sent yesterday with the invitation to the meeting, or not yesterday, a few days ago, has instructions on how to do that, or you can just email me and we'll get you at it, okay? Groups.io, I'm not going to go into Groups.io because for some reason when I'm on Zoom, the internet slows down for me. So I just took some screenshots and added them to this presentation. But this would be the main screen. It looks something like this. Mine's a little different because I'm the moderator of the group. Actually, I'm the owner. You have a whole bunch of things you can go, categories you can go into. For instance, if you go into messages, you'll see every message that anybody's ever posted to the subgroup. If you go into files, you'll see files that people have uploaded or databases, photos, et cetera, et cetera. Very interesting information available here. And by the way, every Groups.io group, the main group and the subgroup, they all look the same. They have the same format. And if you click the Your Groups down button here, you could switch from one to another. So anyone that you have access to, you'll be able to get to. If you click the directory, you'll see that everybody who's a member of the group. Okay, at least you see their names. And one of the nice things about this is if you want to email one of these people, you click email and you can email them. Nice and easy. It'd also be really nice if people had their photos in Groups.io so that people could see who you are, especially if we're going to meet somewhere. If you go into files, I noticed that somebody already posted some files here. And in the database, I just created this database today, as a matter of fact, where we can put in important websites. For instance, Eclipse-wise, Fred Espenak's site. So if you forget the link, you can always go here. And if you find interesting links, I think anybody can go in here and add a row to add interesting websites. Okay.
John,
Yes.
it's Ron McNaughton here. I don't know, I didn't find it for the last eclipse in 17, but to me, somebody must be running a website that is solely giving the weather forecast for different places. You know, you'd think that somebody has that, so they, you know, forecast in Texas and Ohio, etc. And if we can find a website like that, I think it should go on the, you know, your area there.
This one right here, Eclipse file. That's Jay Anderson. Jay Anderson is I think he's in a past. I don't know if he still is. He's an executive member of the RASC. He's a meteorologist, and I believe that he probably knows more about weather forecasting and astronomy in general than just about anybody on the planet. Okay, and he's a Canadian. As a matter of fact, him and Fred Espinock, who does Eclipse Wise, and he's known as Mr. Eclipse. These guys cross-reference each other too. They share information. So I think this is that site. Okay. And basically, I think Chris Malicki were you telling me that you're very familiar with that site and how to use it? And
yeah, that's why I raised my hand. Jay Anderson has links to websites, fabulous websites that give predictions. They give cloud forecasts like 36 hours in advance, 5 days in advance, a week in advance. And these are websites from the US mainly. There's also a Canadian website. I found the US one extremely accurate because I've checked their cloud forecast, and then on the actual day I go to see what it's like. So so his it's in his site, in Jay Anderson's site, he gives links to those websites. I've made those websites favorites of mine. I'm certainly going to use them in the week prior to the eclipse, because it's not just a weather thing, it's a cloud forecast, like high cloud, middle cloud, low cloud, probability of, like in 36 hours, what's the probability of high cloud, like 40% or 20%, like, and they get very accurate as you get closer to the day. So I think those are really valuable sites that he has.
yeah, I think it's really key that that we study this. Everybody should probably do that, because this is going to be so important once we're close to the eclipse. So
in fact, John, what I think, what I might do after our the Zoom meeting, I think I'm just going to send an email, you know, to the group with the websites that I've used, the ones that I'm just talking about.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
I'll do that.
Okay, Keith.
Clearly no substitute for planning, but for those of us who are down in Nebraska will recall the morning of, it was very difficult to get weather updates. There's millions of people along the path hitting the various weather sites simultaneously. And I remember we were all just standing there staring at our phones at one point. So just a caution, there may be some frustrations on the day of.
Yeah, you know what? I don't remember it that way at all, Keith. I remember it as it was very easy to get weather forecasts, except every one of us was looking at a different site and they all said different things, which was very frustrating. So yeah, it was awful. So that's why we have to do better next time. So it can make a big difference. Yeah, to me, you, me, my group with you, we were very lucky to get to see it actually, as it turned out. So yeah, yeah, we have to learn about the Eclipse file and other websites so that we'll do better in 2024. Okay, any more on that, on websites? Okay, let's move on to travel teams. Oops. Okay, Fred, Jose Alonso, Fred Benedict, and Ron McNaught and I have decided to form a foursome. Okay, so we're planning to travel together. Jose and I actually traveled together along with Dennis Gasparotto. I see Dennis is on here, and John Gola in 2017. And Keith Jarvie was with his family, and we were kind of together in the same place, separate but together. And yeah, so anyway, we think that that's the way to do it. This way we could, we could share hotel rooms, we could share a vehicle, unless you do have a family and want to travel with your family, which is great too. If everybody's as committed as you are, to doing the difficult things like being flexible, being willing to move long distances, on fairly short notice, et cetera, et cetera. So, so we suggest that. Plus, having teams, we share the work, the research. If we have 4 people, hopefully we can, possibly we can arrange hotel room rentals in different cities, which, obviously the vast majority of it will end up canceling and not using, and hopefully not spending money. So there's a lot of advantages of having teams. And, we're in a club where, hopefully there's a lot more people than those attending this meeting that are interested in this. And hopefully others will create teams as well too. We could end up, having 2 or 3 teams travel together, or we can take completely separate routes. So, we had another team in 2017 that decided to go a total different way than we did. And basically the beauty of 2017 was just about everybody was successful at seeing it somewhere. So, because I remember all the presentations being done at the potpourri meetings. We had something like 21 different groups, and every single one of them was successful at seeing the Eclipse in 2017. So, hopefully that'll happen again this time too. So, and if you do want to get on a team, just put out a message. If you want people, I don't know, if you have certain criteria, just put it out and say, would anybody be interested in forming a group? And send it to our subgroup. Who's in the subgroup. There's about 40 people. So, so that's what I have to say about that. Travel targets or destinations, and so what cities do we want to hit, or do we think we should consider hitting? Let me go to, where's my map? I gotta go back. Sorry, going back. Actually, that's what I want. Okay. No, this is, yeah, there we go. Oh, by the way, this is Eclipse wise. This is probably, if you can only go to one website, go to this one, eclipsewise.com. This is Fred Espinak's site. From there, he talks about all the eclipses, but then you want to zoom in on the one specifically that you're specifically interested in. And if you eventually you'll end up over here. Or here. Nope. And oh boy, this is slow. Sorry. Okay, so I pinned a few spots here that I think would be interesting, good launch points. Okay. I really like Fayetteville, Arkansas here, because there's very good roads leading towards the path, especially if you want, towards it, and to go in either direction, especially if you want to head back north. If you want to be further south and you end up wanting to be somewhere in South Texas, it's a little bit more tricky. It's pretty hard to get there on a good road without going through Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin, San Antonio. There's virtually no good roads here. But for instance, if we knew days ahead of time that South Texas was going to be great and we can't get a hotel room or something, this place called San Angelo might be good. So, but it's very limited. If we ended up having to go back north from there, it could be tough. So, Shreveport, Louisiana is another good spot as well too. Very easy to get north and at least south to an extent. Oklahoma City is a little bit harder. It's a little bit further out. So, and there's a place here called Central City, Kentucky as well. I think we want to avoid places like St. Louis because to me, it would be like being in Toronto, you know, where it just misses. And do we want to compete with everybody from St. Louis trying to get there? So anyway, a lot more work has to be done there to pick these possible sites, okay, of where to go to. So back to the presentation. Okay, vehicle rentals. Fred did some research on this. Like to take over?
Sure. Thank you, John. Yeah, so I did some calling around and got some budgetary pricing for those that are interested in renting a vehicle. We're sort of interested in a 7-passenger minivan or large SUV, and the rental costs for those are basically the same. And everybody's been quoting things like the Chrysler Town and Country or the Dodge Durango, but I think we're sort of favoring the minivan. The cheapest I found was actually in Alamo. They're just shot, and all of these are basically unlimited mileage, which is good. We're thinking of a 4 or 5 day rental, depending on where we're going to end up. So if we end up in, Arkansas or Missouri, we might need it for 4 days. If we end up in Texas, we might actually need it for 5. So, but the cost per day at Alamo's just shy of $150 a day, or about $1,100 a week. And you got to add, if you want to add things like insurances, that's another $32 a day. If you want to add additional drivers, that's another $10 per day. So they're the cheapest. If you go to places like Hertz, Avis, National, they're about $250 a day. I thought they would have been more competitive, but they aren't per the day rate. But if you go to the weekly rate, which is about $1,200, they're starting to be competitive with Alamo at $1,100. So depends on what you need. But the other companies, Hertz, Avis, National, they, instead of charging $32 a day for all the insurances, they're at $45 a day. So in essence, if you go by the day, Alamo, will be just shy of $200 a day. And if you go with the Hertz or the other ones, you'll be just shy of about $300 a day. So depends on your budget. But I don't think we need the vehicle for a week. I think it's going to be end up 4 or 5 days. And that's it.
Any questions for Fred? Okay. Come on, move slide. There we go. Accommodations. Okay, Ron, do you want to say something about that?
Yes, John, could you go back to the map that shows St. Louis and Fayetteville and everything, please?
Absolutely, I can. Okay, there you go.
No, the one that is more blowing up.
Okay,
It's I think the Eclipse whatever website. You had it on earlier.
this one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Okay, so if you could just move it so okay, good. Um, we were sort of wondering about routes, and I was giving the opinion that we probably don't want to be near a big city. Probably the hotels are a little more expensive for motels. And when I originally wondered about it, I thought a site might be Rolla, which is about 200 kilometers on Highway 43 from St. Louis. And John was saying Fayetteville, that's another 400 kilometers further down, the road in terms of as a site that then we decide whether we go north or south after that. Anyway, I used Trivago, and I did that during the eclipse in 2017, and I had no trouble finding half decent accommodation, a Super 8 or something or other. No trouble getting accommodation for on any of the days, even the day before the eclipse. I think maybe at 8 in the morning, I decided where I was going to end up camping or sorry, staying, and I was able to get a booking. Anyway, using Trivago, there's a Super 8 in Rolla, which was quoted as 150 plus 16. Now that's US dollars, of course, so it's a little over $250 maybe by the time you count conversion, and that would be for 2 rooms and 4 people. Now, what I didn't check is whether each of the rooms have 2 separate beds or whether it's a shared bed, and that's something more research should be done. But it looks like, based on my past experience and the research I did, last week, there's no problem finding accommodation in that sort of place. We were wondering about making it on the less populated side of the eclipse path, and that would be probably the west side in many places, and to try and find a sort of place that someone in a big city wouldn't go to the eclipse through. But it's still up in the air. But anyway, that gives it an amount, and the cancellation dates I think are something like 4 days before the actual thing, but I can't remember for sure. But that's something that was given on the website. So accommodation in that sort of place seems to be possible. If we end up in Texas, if you could scroll down to Texas, please, John. Okay, good. Um, uh, if we say have to go all the way to San Antonio or something or other, we might be able to find a town again for the night before that's 50 kilometers off totality, and not between a big city and the eclipse path, and then get up early in the morning and drive to the eclipse path and get there for 8 or 9 in the morning, and then wait in the sun until 3 or whatever in the time the actual eclipse is. That's still to be worked out. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's just
I pointed out one of these places, San Angelo, for instance, over here.
yeah. I
Just
remember you talking about it. And again, if it's not between a big city and totality, it's not likely to be absolutely jammed. And like I say, I had no trouble getting places a little bit off the eclipse path, and then on the day of the eclipse, I drove into the actual totality path, and found a few places that I checked out, and one was already full when I got there, but the other one I had, I was okay. So it's this sort of flexibility that we're considering. Anyway,
yeah,
that's it. Obviously, as we make our plans firmer, I'd go into more detail, but that seems to be. Oh, and these places, the Super 8s include a breakfast. Now it's basically a bowl of cereal and coffee, and that's it. But they do provide a breakfast. Anyway, thanks. That's it.
yeah. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, that pretty much. Yeah, I pretty much I looked at some of this as well too, and as I said before, there aren't many good roads west of the path, further south. But if you're anywhere on the east side of the path, there's better roads. But then you have a lot of people, a lot of population, so it's a trade-off. We have better roads, but there'll be more people, to compete with. So that's the trade-off. So not sure what to do yet. More research, I think, is the answer. So, okay, let me go back to the presentation. I think that's pretty close to it, though. Okay. Okay. Q&A and open discussion. Does anybody have questions or any comments? Now's the time.
I was going to say, since I would be a first timer for a total eclipse, we should all look at Betty's guide to Elizabeth's guide to watching a solar eclipse. It has a lot of, I find it useful hints of what to see and do.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm going to ask for
John, I'm wondering if going forward, how often we'll have these updates and
you're
gatherings.
You're skipping to the next slide.
Okay. Great guy. All right.
Okay.
Is there anybody interested here in actually, joining us? I mean, we see a whole bunch of people here, but
I am definitely.
may,
So I guess the process is if we want to either join or form a team, we just send a message to the group.
yeah.
And then we'll all be connected as the event approaches of where everyone is going. And is that the plan?
Yeah, I think it, I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, if we form a couple of groups of 4, I mean, we can take, it's basically, I guess it all depends on vehicles, right? I mean, we could do something silly, like if we get
Right.
8 people together, we rent a minibus or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that's not a
Awesome.
bad idea. Yeah, that'd be
I
cool.
love it.
But remember, getting accommodations, for 4 hotel rooms starts to be a little trickier too.
Yeah.
But
to
anyway,
me-
it's an option. It's an option.
To me, units of 4, I think, is good. I mean, basically, we can do the same things. We kind of follow each other around. But if 4 of us are at one hotel, maybe the other 4 could be at another nearby hotel. And yeah, so definitely we can look at something like that. First of all, let's see who's interested.
Yeah.
How many are interested. And yeah. And by the way, if anybody has another friend or somebody who's not a member of our club, this is not what we are doing here is not a Mississauga Center or an RASC event. I should have made that clear at the beginning. We're basically a bunch of individuals who are taking advantage of the fact that we are members and we can communicate with each other. And so if you have anybody else that you'd want to bring, yeah, absolutely, you could do that, and we could still, travel together. We'll at least share knowledge, and whatever any of us learns, we'll all know. So,
And John,
yeah, Chris.
I would strongly recommend, or I would hope that I could easily text any of you guys during that, because as you probably know, my team is going to be some family members of mine, but I would love to be in contact with everybody. Like I'd like to just be able to text from my car, like, where are you guys? What's your latest? And just share information that way, like during the actual, 2 days around the eclipse.
Hold on a second. Just hang on a second. I just have to go step away from that.
So what it really means, Chris, is you want to join the group vicariously.
Well, as you probably know, Fred, like I have family members, there might be as many as 8 of us, or there might be 5 of us. I don't know. So, I mean, that's my own group, but I certainly want to know what the rest of you are doing and be in close contact by, I think texting is the easiest way.
Absolutely. Or you know what, if WhatsApp is a great resource too. It's a
Yeah.
really perfect resource that where
Right.
we can create WhatsApp groups as well too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have a
I have
WhatsApp.
lots
So.
of experience at using that. To me, basically it uses tiny amounts of data if you're texting. Wi-Fi, if you are on Wi-Fi, it's you could do video calls, share calls. Actually, it's almost like a Facebook. I don't do Facebook, but from what it sounds like, it's a little like Facebook. So WhatsApp is a really, really good way to communicate as well too. But Chris, do you know at this point how you're going to do, the logistics of how you're going to do it? Are you going to get possibly a big club wagon or something, or
No,
you don't
it's
know?
my own car.
Just your own
I'm not going to
car?
rent anything. If
Okay.
my daughter comes with her kids, they're going to have their own car and we'll be driving together in two
Okay,
vehicles.
so you're gonna have two cars. Okay, private, so a
Yeah.
couple of private vehicles. Okay. Yeah, but there's no reason that if we chose to, that we couldn't choose to actually travel together, Or,
Yeah, we
so,
might very well do that. I mean, depending on what the
Yeah.
weather is, and if it looks that we're going to the same place, I'd love to travel in close proximity to other travel teams.
yeah. And Dennis, aren't you thinking of doing the same thing with your family?
Well, I've got a niece that's on the line of Tatelli, Niagara-on-the-Lake. She's got a nice spot there.
Oh, okay, so,
But I'm also reevaluating the plans, and I'm working on a plan B that would get me more mobile. But I haven't figured all that out yet. But yeah, so I'm a bit flexible, I guess, in terms of my arrangements and what I'm trying to do. Because I mean, it's the weather's the issue, but right now that's my current plan. But I'll have a plan B to figure things out. I mean, I may be in touch shortly.
yeah, speaking of Plan Bs, even my group, we have our foursome, our average age, I think, is about 75. So, so you know what? If maybe somebody would just want to be a standby in case we need a replacement for one of us. So,
John,
go ahead, Chris.
as you know, I did a very close study of the weather around the 10 days around April 8th this past spring, looking at weather and all the way to Prince Edward Island. And a number of days, and you knew several days in advance where the weather was pretty good in New Brunswick, PEI, and Sherbrooke, Quebec. Like Sherbrooke is a one-day drive. The North Cape of Prince Edward Island is an easy 2-day drive. I don't think that should be ruled out. I mean, the weather just might so happen that a high pressure system is going through the Maritimes, and that's a place to go. So, I mean, it's in 2 days, like you can travel to Arkansas in the same time you could travel to Prince Edward Island, because I've often gone to PEI, and there shouldn't be crowded roads to go there. So that's certainly a possibility as well. I'm actually hoping, if it's cloudy in Ontario, I'm really hoping that Quebec or New Brunswick or PEI are clear, because that's where I would go.
Well, no matter how bad it is anywhere and extensive, there's going to be holes all over the place.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah. So, I mean, positive holes where we could get to.
I mean,
Yeah.
To me, just looking generally at this, the brown stuff, and sorry, I lost the scale here. Basically, this means you've got about a 90% chance of cloud. Okay, so maybe 1 out of every 10 years on any given April the 8th, you'll get a clear day. Whereas down here in Mexico, it's 9 out of 10 days you get a clear day. So
No, the Gulf of St. Lawrence isn't that bad. Like Prince Edward Island is much better than Quebec.
Yeah, actually, this there's also these eels, the Ile Saint Miquelon or whatever. They look like they'll be a little clearer than the mainland here.
Ile de la Madeleine, but you have to take a ferry from
getting there is a bit of a
from
challenge.
PEI to go there, so that's not really doable.
Okay.
I've done that. It's a ferry.
If you're going to be traveling into the States, even the northern states or mid just south of the Midwest, a couple of days before, Eastern Canada is not your option. So you're going to have to make a decision close in which case a lot of maybe millions will be doing the same thing at the same time,
Yeah.
right? So there'll be a lot of scrambling. I think you got to have your strategy in terms of zones sort of figured out in advance.
I guess if we decide to go to the States, to Arkansas, mid-states, right? I mean, we're probably sort of committed into the States area, maybe going north, further north towards Buffalo or something. But Chris makes the point that, even Canada might be okay, Eastern Canada, but once you're committed, I think you can't change horses in midstream.
Fred, I think Fred, 3 days ahead, like the eclipse is on the 8th, on April 5th, I think you're gonna have a pretty good idea what the weather is gonna be like in New Brunswick, and certainly 2 days before, you'll have a really good idea. And using those websites that I mentioned, if New Brunswick looks like it has cloud forecast is really excellent, I mean that's where I would go. By 2 days, you're really pretty sure. I mean, I think the big decision, if you're in Mississauga, you make that decision on the morning of April 6th. You get up at 7 a.m., you look at, you study everything for an hour and you decide, I'm driving east, I'm driving west. And that's when you commit, like 2 days before, and you'll be pretty sure to make the right choice by that time.
It almost seems that's when you pick up the car, right? When you pick up the car, you have to
Well,
decide
I'm
whether
using
we go.
I'm using my own cars. I'm not
Yeah,
picking up a
but
car.
in our case, we'll be picking up the car, and then we'll decide whether we head to the States or whether we head to the down east.
Are you picking up your car in Mississauga?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, so
probably.
you can go anywhere you want. Yeah, so it's
yeah,
the same
yeah.
Oh,
scenario.
yeah, the first challenge going through Toronto. We're going east.
Yeah,
Oh,
come on, you take the 407
407, yeah, I think we would do that on that.
Not with a rental car and the extra fees they charge.
Actually, I don't know, from what I understand, the tolls are pretty reasonable, actually.
In the States, they are.
In the States, not on 407. 407, there's nothing reasonable for.
And you could get to Kingston in 3 hours, and it has more than 3 minutes of total eclipse in Kingston.
Yeah.
That's certainly an option I looked at as well. Again, depending on those last 2-day weather forecasts and predictions.
But for four of us, whatever we had to pay extra for the 407 mean nothing once that you are committed.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jose, if we get billed through the rental company, it's a $90 bill just for them to have administration fees.
I know,
Plus-
but
Plus-
if you are saving a couple
Anyway, that's
hours
a detail.
going through Toronto,
Yeah, that's a detail.
Anyway, to me, maybe the US's tolls are different because they told me, I said, what about the tolls? You have a they said, yeah, you know what? We'll just bill you after. It's not going to be exorbitant or anything. So
Yeah.
I'll find out for my Boston trip. I'll find out within the month how much they're charging me and how much they're dinging extra for me. So
And
I'd like
also
to-
it just as FYI for tolls in the States, you also have the option of pulling off and paying cash or with your credit card.
you
and then
know
getting
what?
back
Going
on.
east to Boston, none. I didn't see a single toll booth the entire way. So I have no idea how they handle it. It's like I think it's just like the 407. They'll take a video chart, they'll take a picture of your plate and bill you, and it's high. And they warn you that they bill you a lot. So
my first choice, this is Ron. My first choice actually would be to observe in the Maritimes, except I think the highways are a problem in that direction. Like looking at the paths and the detailed maps around Arkansas, etc. There are a whole bunch of highways that give us options. But my recollection is there's only 1 or 2 highways over the top of Maine. And if suddenly 3 million people in Montreal, 1 in 3 or whatever, decide the only clear spot I can get to is the Maritimes, it's going to be, the roads are going to be crowded. But in other areas, I think they're more, in the States, are going to be more alternative roads. Just a factor.
Yeah, look
Good-
at this.
good
Look at
point.
this big expanse here with no roads at all here.
Yeah.
New Brunswick is a little bit better. So yeah,
There's
to
still
me,
relatively few roads that go, not the same road density as there is in the States.
yeah, to me, I don't know. Once again, this whole area, too many clouds, not enough roads. So yeah, sure, it's not very. I would love to be able to see it within my own country, but I don't know. To me, I'm not being patriotic here. This is all about success. Okay.
And I want to express, this is Ron again, a selfish desire. I didn't look when I was in Turkey at the ground to see the shadow bands, and it was slightly hazy where I saw the eclipse in 2017, and there were no shadow bands that I could see. And I really, really want a very clear site where I can see shadow bands. I'm being selfish on it, but that's something I'd really like.
Well, to me, whatever is good for seeing the eclipse is going to be good for seeing the shadow bands. Okay, so to
Well,
me, yeah,
Well, where I was, I could see the sun. I could see prominences on the sun. I could see animals going to bed or getting up, but I couldn't see shadow bands. You know,
I think that when we went, we saw them in Nebraska. There's somebody had a sheet, and you could see them on the sheet. So it was pretty neat.
Yep.
But to me, that's not the main show. So no.
Yeah, I had a question about the weather. Was there some kind of website that had like a history of
Yeah,
the weather
eclipse
in different
file.
locations?
Eclipse
Oh, really?
file. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what climate. You're talking about climate. History and the
Yeah.
future of weather is climate. If you want to know what it's going to be on any given day, then that's a weather forecast. So that's the difference between weather and climate. So and that's what he does, what Jay Anderson does in his site. And there's got to be other sites out there too. But
All right.
to me, I think that Jay Anderson his is the gold standard. So
Okay, I'll have to have a look at that.
yeah. Um, anything else?
I guess for me it's a little overwhelming because I've never done like a long car trip like this. Like usually if I'm gonna go on a vacation, we just hop on a plane and there you go.
Yeah. Well, you can do that. The only problem is not too many of us can afford to hop around, 3 or 4
Oh,
days
I understand that.
and then hop somewhere else on another plane.
Well, and then the other problem is like we're trying to chase the sun or the moon, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So, well, to me, you know, put it out there. You want to join a group, and you're not doing it alone, Rob. So, I
yeah,
mean,
I
we
agree.
had in 2017, we had all kinds of groups that went out and had never done anything like that before. Okay. So, and we all pretty much everybody succeeded. Yeah, I mean, who is driven to an eclipse in a car other than 20? No, okay. No, I mean, to me, nobody would have. Yeah, because there haven't been any in our lifetime, really. So that you could have driven to. So 2017 was it.
1984 to Sherryville, North Carolina for the 99.9% eclipse. Drove to that one, followed the weather, drove 300 miles in the morning to get away from the clouds and saw it in North Carolina. So
Was that
Actually-
annular or was it just a partial?
no, that was a beaded annular. That was a flirting with totality one.
Oh,
You didn't have a full ring, you had a broken ring. It was so close to total.
So it was special in that sense.
Yeah, May 3rd. Yeah, and Randy was in that one, but he was on the RASC expedition. But I did that independently with my wife and her brother, the three of us. We drove to that one. So you chase the clouds, chase away from the clouds and see it.
Oh, by the way, in case everybody else isn't aware of this, Chris, how many total eclipses or annular have you seen?
About 15
Yeah.
total ones.
Wow.
So when this guy talks, we listen, okay?
No, I've seen a lot, that's all.
Yeah. Cool.
I know
Okay.
that mobility is critical.
Yeah.
Like us hardcore eclipse chasers, you need mobility. Like that was my downfall in Baja California in July 1991. We had a bus, the condensation caused clouds above us, the eclipse was right overhead, and around the horizon there was clear sky, and I was begging the bus driver, like the organizer, to take the bus and just drive for half an hour out of there, and they didn't do it. So if you just had mobility, you can do wonders, and you'll see it. I'm sure of that.
Hmm.
I'm very, very, very confident that with the plans that you're making, you're going to see it. 95% is my estimate, especially with those good weather forecasts before. You will see the eclipse, but you just have to be willing to do it, willing to drive, not just stay in one place. Mobility is everything.
And flexibility.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you have four drivers, you can basically go pretty far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
you could do 1,500 kilometers in 24 hours, you know, if you're driving straight, which we could do with multiple drivers. So, and that's one of the reasons why we want a big vehicle. So, at least for our group.
Yeah. Other thing that, like Ron mentioned about wanting to see shadow bands, I've seen shadow bands in the vast majority of the total eclipses I was at, and I've seen shadow bands at several annular eclipses. So it shouldn't really, if the weather is clear, it shouldn't be difficult. You'll almost certainly see them if you look for them. I've seen them numerous times. And they're nice to look at. Yeah, nice thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, we want to see it all. And by the way, further as we get closer, I'm sure that some of our more experienced members or people who have done this kind of thing will do presentations on what to look for, how to observe the eclipse, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, to me, that's important to know and to consider, although it's not really important for the purposes of this meeting, actually. So, at least not in my opinion, anyway. So, yeah. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I guess that just about wraps it. Oh, no, one more thing. When we're going to meet again, I was hoping we get a much larger number of people. Would we like to meet again in 2 weeks or since
A month.
Huh?
A month.
Okay.
2 weeks is too soon, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say in 4 weeks. Let me see if I can bring my calendar up here and
Work on an agenda.
like, I'm not sure why we picked this night. I would rather have had a Wednesday actually than a Thursday. 1, 2, 3. Would October 4th work for everybody? What Wednesday, October 4th? Does that seem like a good date for our next meeting?
That's the night of the Toronto Center meeting, and I'd
Oh.
like to go to it. Unfortunately, I had another meeting and I had to miss their meeting last night, but it would be my preference to be able to go to that meeting.
Okay, what about October 5th or the 3rd?
A week later, make it October 11th.
That sounds like we did. Thanksgiving. Yeah, would October 11th work?
What day is that, John? The 11th?
The Wednesday.
Yeah, it's 2
Oh,
days
yeah.
after Thanksgiving.
Sorry, I should bring up my calendar on this.
That's
screen.
you have to be concerned.
It won't work for me because I'll be in Utah for the annular eclipse.
Oof,
Oh, okay.
aren't you lucky?
Okay, how about in 3 weeks then? How about the 28th of September? Or the 27th?
I'm not sure how much what's going to be different, but anyway,
Well, we
sure.
might get more people too, okay? And for instance, some of us might decide on hotels and where we're going. After doing some more research, so. We might have other foursomes or twosomes or whatever that would follow along. And work travel together. Now there could be stuff that'll happen in that time. I mean, to me, if you leave it too long, then to me, I'm afraid that the hotels will become booked. So it's less than 7 months now, I think. Or pretty much exactly 7 months, actually. I think it's 7 months tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
All right, so that's the 27th, 7:30.
yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Hopefully that's not a Riverwood Star Party night, is it?
That's usually a Tuesday.
Yeah, no, but the backup date is off on the Wednesday though. Yeah. Does anybody have the latest meeting email handy to look
Not
at
in
it?
front.
Yeah, I just sent it on Tuesday. If somebody has it handy, it'll have upcoming meetings on it. Maybe
September 26th.
okay, so that is when
So
okay, so we probably should. Okay, you know what? Let's just, we'll figure out a way to pick another day. Let's just say sometime in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, we'll meet again, okay? Meanwhile, if anybody does have any questions, comments, if you formed a group or whatever, please email the subgroup and, we'll go from there.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Sounds great. John, wonderful to get this started. That's really good.
yeah,
thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
John, so much. That was really, really helpful.
Great. And if anybody says, oh, I wish I went to that, they'll be able to view the recording of this once it's posted.
John, are you going to give the presentation to the meeting tomorrow night as well?
No. No,
They're
I
booked.
could give a recap. I could just tell it, give a recap maybe.
I think it would be worthwhile if there's space on the program.
Okay, I'll ask Randy if I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to stop recording now. Since I'm not the one that initiated the recording. Record.
Well, we'll just leave the meeting and then it'll stop.
I hope so.
So when you once it's recorded, where would the meeting be available?
On the videos at our website. Once we post,
Oh, okay.
somebody will have to post it. Yeah, every Zoom meeting that we've had, and basically it's available on our website.
Oh, okay. Usually I just Google on or check on YouTube and I find it. So
Yeah, that's because people like Alan or Rob Deal, that is, they post them there. So, but you can also just go to our website though under videos. So, okay, I'm gonna click this. Happens here. Click record. No, I'm afraid that Rob Neal has already left the meeting physically, but he's still on it. He's attached to it. I'm afraid that just forever and ever. See if I can end the meeting.
Just leave. We'll just leave and that's it.
Yeah, you guys can all leave, okay? And I'll
Bye.
figure out how to
Okay.
stop it.
Bye,
Oh,
bye,
stop
everybody.
recording. I saw it. I found
okay,
it. Bye
thanks
now.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.